So comment, subscribe, dislike, or like. Check out the links in the descriptions for other of my sites, other activities that I'm involved in. A whole bunch of Facebook groups you can check out. I play multiple card games, so I do music among other things, so check out the links in the description. This is my few Zamasu mill deck. 1 copy to leader. 4 full power Frieza, 100% overdrive. 4 Topo Righteous Aid. 4 Oceanus Shinron. 4 Android 17 Turning the Tide. 4 Frieza Universe 7 United. 4 Gohan Baby's Minion. 4 Majin the Fire Wet Supreme Kai. 4 Gowasu Zamasu's Master. 4 Senzu Bean. 4 Dimension Magic. 4 All Too Easy. 4 Zeno Cosmic Unison. 4 Raditz Giant Force. 4 SS Gotenks Absolute Unison. And 4 Super Saiyan 4 Goku Protector of the Earth. Alright. Something I should say. Some people still misunderstand the concept of my decks. Is that they're toolboxes, right? That's the idea. They have cards in them for you to use when you play. You need to know how to play the game in order for these cards to be of use to you. And there are people who don't like my builds. Like, for example, there's people who don't like that I don't have super combos because they're used to super combos. They use super combos. That is fine. Use them. If you need them, fit them in somewhere. But I don't need them, right? It's like being a carpenter, but then somebody complained that my toolbox doesn't have a jackhammer or something. It's like, I'm a carpenter, you know, I work with wood, not concrete, so I don't need a jackhammer. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like people act like, no, everybody needs the same thing. No, I don't need what you need, and you don't need what I need. We're different. So I use what I need. And when I come up with a strategy, I put the cards that I need for that strategy in the deck. I don't put extra stuff, right? Stuff that is not necessary, that doesn't help me achieve my goals, right? If you look at my deck, it's very defensive. So you got a negate, plus it has a floodgate ability. Here's another negate, and it's a blocker plus a floodgate ability. Here's a blocker. Here's a negate with a floodgate ability. Right? Here's a negate. Here's a negate. Blocker that can block twice. Here's a blocker. And here's a card with a floodgate ability to kind of restrict my opponent from attacking a lot. So you see, it's very defensive. A lot of defense. And at the same time, I make try to make sure that my defense is also an offense. So this is a blocker, yes, but it's 20k and it can attack twice. All right, and Raditz, he's 19k. You can attack with him and use his +0 active main to draw a card and then switch him back to active mode at the end of your turn, so you can block with him twice, so that way you can attack on your turn and block on your opponent's turn. Sword and shield strategy, right? So we got Topo, 20k body. We got Frieza, also 20k body. So these cards can help us apply pressure, especially on our opponent's leader. In order to out combo them, your opponent's going to need 10k combo power to out combo them. So of course we take advantage of that. The mill aspect of the deck mainly comes from full power Frieza, 100% overdrive, and whatever our opponent is doing, right? If we get fortunate enough that our opponent still tries to attack with Oceanus's effect active, we'll take advantage of that. We can obviously combine Senzu Bean with Oceanus, so that way you can, make sure you untap your energy to play it. Sometimes I tend to use Dimension Magic to do that, where I use Dimension Magic, especially if I'm tapped out, to negate an attack, untap 2 energies, and then I have the 2 energies for Oceanus. So that way I can negate an attack, have a blocker, so that way I could potentially stop another attack. So that's 3 attacks I could potentially stop, and then get the Floodgate ability. If my opponent attacks, they mill 4 cards, which could, you know, help me towards decking my opponent out. This is a 60 card build, so the likelihood of my opponent decking out before I do is highly likely. Plus, I got the Zamasu. When I use it when I combo with it, I can take up to 3 battle cards from my drop with energy cards cost 3 or more, and 35k power or less. So that can grab like a Android 17 Turning Tide, for example, put it back in the deck. Same goes for Full Power Frieza, put it back in the deck if I need. I can definitely grab Oceanus, put it back in my deck, or a Topo, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, stuff that I want to potentially draw again later. Plus, this helps, you know, reduce the chances of me milling out, because once my leader awakens, every time I take damage, I mill the top 5 cards of my deck for each damage I take. So I need a way to try to counteract that. So essentially, once I awaken, my opponent deck turns into a mill deck, because every time they deal me damage, I mill cards. So the way they beat me is by decking me out, and this is one way to try to mitigate that, you know, situation. Another way to try to put more cards in my deck is through Zeno, you know, Cosmic Unison. This also puts their battle cards, or cards in their battle area, including field cards, right, back into the decks. So keep that in mind. But there's times where you rather do this than to just bounce them back to the hand through this card's effect. So as you can see, we got a couple board wipes. This helps you ramp. This helps you ramp. Obviously, we're trying to get to Android 17 Turn the Tides, to turn the tides, right? To give ourselves the advantage. Less cards your opponent has in their hands to play with, the better chance you have of either milling them out or just beating them just through Android 17 turns. So in the right situation, you can end your opponent out with this, especially if they have only 2 life. That's the best time to play it, obviously, because you swing with this crit and then swing with the leader for game. Full Power Frieza, when you attack with this card, choose all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and they all get minus 30k power for the turn. Second auto, when the power of your opponent's battle cards is decreased, your opponent places the top 2 cards of the deck into the drop. So, for example, if they have 5 battle cards, then they're milling 15 cards from the top of their deck. So if they have 10 battle cards, you know, they're milling 20. No, I said it wrong. They have 5 battle cards. 2 times 5 is 10. They're milling 10, not 15. They're milling 10. But if they have 10 battle cards, they're milling 20. Tokens count as battle cards, keep that in mind, so take advantage of that. I was in a scenario one time where my opponent had shadow tokens with blocker, and I was like, I so want to, you know, Full Power Frieza that, but I didn't have the energy I needed to play Full Power Frieza, so I had to go Goku Protector the Earth instead. There is gameplay that I uploaded, so you should check it out and see some of that action. But like I said, most of your mill is mainly coming from this, so you can kind of consider this like a burn card, just another win con. So it's like if your opponent is low on cards, you know, this can help you, you know, take them down. So if you can get them down to 10 cards and they have 5 battle cards, bang, this one card can deck them out for you. But then of course we have Android 17, Turning the Tide as the win con, and then just general beat down, right? Just generally beating your opponent down. Not much to say. Most of the stuff here is self-explanatory. Obviously, this is a negate you can play from your graveyard, which comes in handy. This is a blocker you can play from your graveyard over and over again for 3 energy, and it has barrier, so that's always good. This has barrier, plus it you know, helps you ramp. You play this, and then you use Zeno, and then, you know, in that combination, you could potentially drop this as soon as turn 5. So drop this on turn 2, drop this on like turn 3, for example, or at least the turn prior to the turn in which you're going to play this out. I typically, as soon as I play this, I do the ramp just so it can get markers, so it can, you know, stick on the field a little bit longer until it gets to the turn where you really need the ramp. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll get to a point where you just doing this ramp thing and just get the -5 ability off, and, you know, comes in handy. I've been in a scenario where my opponent ignores the unison and allows it to get to its -5 ability and just clears their board, and, you know, turn the duel around in your favor. And like I said, everything here is pretty much self-explanatory. And that's the end of the video.